John, so what attracted you to the jungle that is the betting ring, where you applied your trade for years after?
Well, I wouldn't say I applied my trade among other jobs, and you know, I love the atmosphere of racing. I love racing, I love betting, and the thing that drew me first to it was, well, it's an easy way of doing a living. I'll become a punter, I'll study the form. But don't forget, in those days, punters didn't even know if a horse was a soft ground horse. I remember Bob Turnell's Boxwaller was a 6 furlong sprinter, and in Newbury in October, Boxwaller in his element, because it was soft ground. And now, the information people get now with the Racing Post and all the other publications and stable tours and all that thing. Imagine in the old days, the senior trainers like Captain Boyd Rochford giving a stable tour. You go up to the captain, a journalist, go up to the captain on the racecourse and ask him where his winner was going. Yes, nothing to do with you. And that was the attitude. Now things have changed so much that punters know so more. And you know the ground the horse likes, or you can get it wrong sometimes and they can win. Obviously, soft ground horse can win off home ground, whatever it is, but you're able to make the choice on information that is accurate and the distances they can go and the effect of the breeding. For instance, Peter O'Sullivan, the late Sir Peter O'Sullivan, he worked with Clive Graham on the Daily Express. And in March, he used to go over to France and get the lowdown on the French challenges for our classics and the information that it was totally new. Find out which French horses were coming over. Remember, in those days, it's absolutely extraordinary. In those days, your betting started in January for the year with going for the spring double. Now, people laugh at the spring double. You're going to get the winners of the Grand National and the Lincoln first and then the Grand National. But that was the bet, to get the double. And the time and again you had $5 each way doubles. So on the spring double, on the Lincoln, the Grand National, lots of them didn't run. The Lincoln, there was at one time I think 67 runners in the Lincoln, 3 deep, and the triers at the front they used to shout, non-triers at the back. You can imagine this was on the car home at Lincoln. And I went to Lincoln and it was, very run down. It's still there. The grandstand, I think they have bits of pointing or something there. And to see where all the interest in the spring double had been, ridiculous. They weren't concentrating on the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and I don't know when anti-post betting came in on that, but bits and pieces it was. Now all bookmakers lay out, and well, you can bet on the Gold Cup now, on next year's Gold Cup, and we're in March and April now. So the choice the punters got compared to what they had, and the paucity of the opportunities that were there out there, was absolutely extraordinary. So it was to be brought up like that, and then to see it explode as it has been fantastic. And then I was working then on a thing called Formindex, which was a tipping thing on form and form figures and the details, and we were taking on Cox form, time form, race form, and that sort of. And we were called the Golden Guide, and it was tough, hard work. You worked 24 hours when the Saturday declarations came in on Monday night, or right the way through until Tuesday, and you handwritten. And then it was all typed in, and the team typed it in, and all that sort of thing. But it wasn't just giving form figures. It was form figures, and it was CD, course and distance, whatever. Very primitive compared to what we get now, but it was new then. I remember the Australian cricket team used to love it, Richie Benno and all that lot, and they used to get their copy of the Golden Guide, Formindex and everything. We took great pride in beating Timeform and all that sort of thing when we did, and we did, because Timeform were very inflexible then. As far as I can gather, if a horse got a rating of, say, 80 on Timeform, if it was over 5 furlongs, then ran over 2 miles, they were in real trouble. So ours was adapted and all that, but very no machines. It was all done on figures, and I gave 2 Lincoln winners in a row. I remember that in the 60s. Old Tom was one. I can't remember the other one. And that was when the Lincoln just moved to Doncaster. But it was, a real hard graft at form, studying form, the form figures, it meant something. Now, had I had machines, had I been brainier, it would have been far better. But it was, I say better, they'll say maybe nearly as good as race form, time form, Cox form and all that. But it was a lesson that you must do your homework. You can't become a punter, a successful punter, by guesswork or all that sort of thing. You've got to do your homework, get your basic homework done. And I would say don't rely on any other tipsters and all that kind of thing. Some may be very good. Do it yourself. Get your 2-year-olds to start with, and then you build up form. And now it's, way so much easier because there's so much information there for you. In the old days, for instance, in the old days, in the jump racing in the summer, they never used to give the winning distance after the 3rd or 4th or something. So 5th or 6th could be very close up, or one of them could have fallen at the last. You weren't told, just fell. So if you went, and I used to try and go down to the Fontwells and the Plumptons and all that, and so you got a little bit of an edge there. But it was so from there, and got involved with 1 or 2 bookmakers on the course, and I just enjoyed it all. You said, but I was very bad. I tell you, if anybody ever asks me, the hardest job in the world to do, no job I know you could say about coal mining and all that sort of thing. Well, forget the physical activity and the danger. The hardest job in the world was being a clerk for a bookmaker on the racecourse. You try that. Well, they've got the machines now. So how it's done now, I've no idea, but it's far simpler than it was. Every time it took a bit, you've got to update all the other horses and keep the governor known and put up with the rages and the tantrums when the result was all wrong, and the joys when they were right. Being a floorman was terrific, rushing around, finding out. Why was Ladbrokes called the magic sign? Ladbrokes, the magic sign. Because in those days, once that sign went out from the tic-tacs, that Ladbrokes were backing it, everybody shortened it. No money. I mean, on the racecourse, need go in. Ladbrokes are coming around to back it, so the thing was shoulder 7 to 4, you put it in up the arm 11 to 8. Ladbrokes wanted to take that fine. So that was the way the market was, a proper market. Now, it's a market dominated by the exchanges. You very rarely get a horse that BetDAC aren't putting up, bigger than BetDAC are putting up at the time. I'm sure Ben benefits from it, all bookmakers benefit from it, because the punters lose out from it, because it means the prices are always under. So bookmakers on the course now are virtually laying prices that they know they can back at a bigger price. So it's it's different, but there is big choices, and our betting is the best in the world. You think you go around the world, and what have you got? Tote monopolies everywhere. It's absolutely appalling. France, America, virtually in Australia there are bookmakers, but not the proper system that we've got. Here the choice is yours. If you don't like it, if you think you're not getting value, fine, but you're getting the choice. But the downside of all this is that racecourse betting itself is now very much, the SP is, what they do with the SP, it's a disgraceful system that was brought in, that they now take a sample of bookmakers and they then take the average of the price. Whatever it does, it just downplays the actual SP. The SP should be, and I argued this before the Aglion big committee, they had a committee looking into it, argued it should be the best price available at the off to good money. That any punter on the course at that moment the flag went up would take that price. That's what I always argued. It had to be to good money. So to good money is different at a minor race course compared to Cheltenham, Royal Ascot, York and all that, and Goodwood. So it all depends on what the best price, what you would take. The SP should represent what you would take if you were on the course. You get good money on, so that's fair to the bookmakers, but that's not the system now. The system now is based on averages and later on the price goes down. It's terrible. So the bookmakers are getting huge advantage out of the present SP system, and because of the tiny courses. Tiny number of bookmakers at, say, Kempton in the evening and Lingfield and the all-weather courses. Only half a dozen bookmakers sometimes there, maybe a couple of hundred punters. So the system can't go on as it's going on because there really will be a big scandal about it for some time. But bookmakers love it because they are getting about 10 to 15% advantage at times from the SP return compared to what it would be if it was done properly. And, so it's the way the game's changed. Now, I know you always get this sort of whine and complaint that, oh yeah, but people who've been through the game, they always say in their day and in my day. Well, I would argue with anybody. Are they saying that in my day it was very few bookmakers controlling it? I accept that. So that was a downside of it. Much more choice now, but I think we lived through the best of times when the market really was a true, proper betting market as it should be. And individuals and heavy punters could influence it. Far too influential were the big bookmakers because they had control of the betting market on the racecourse. But I lived through the best of times. But then, being mature as I am, I would say that, wouldn't I?